You good?
They still won't.
All right. The meeting will now come to order. We're going to do a roll call. Mr. Probst.
Here.
Mrs. Burnett.
Here.
Mr. Cowley. Mr. Glonick.
Here.
Mr. Hirsch.
Yep.
Miss Johnson.
Yes.
I'm here. Please rise for the pledge led by Miss Catherine Brunette.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. The agenda was posted throughout the district according to school board policy and posted on the district webpage. I needed approval for the November 19th special session agenda. Motion in a second, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. Item 4, determination of the superintendent search process with CISA 12 search consultant, Mr. Nick Madison. So I think this is really, we had a conversation on the phone. Give us, I think, timelines, rundown, expectations, and we roll from there.
So you've got a folder in front of you if you want to take that out. I've got a number of documents in there. It looks like we want to start with the third one. It says it's got tonight's date on it. It says Board of Education meeting, Little Tiger. That's where we want to start, just to kind of go through this whole process and everything that's about, and then also there's some things we have to decide tonight as well. I have some dates and numbers in there, but those are just some things that I can explain later. But I guess just to start with the very first thing, number 1, where it says role definition, that's kind of where I like to start with a search process, just to talk about what's your role as a board, what's my role as a search consultant, and how do we move forward. I think I know most of you, but those of you who don't, I'm Nick Madison. I'm from CISA 12 in Ashland, and just spending another day today just saving you money, like always, right? Just stretching your educational services dollar. That's what I do. But seriously, yes, there is we are a fee for service. We do not get any tax dollars. We only exist by the revenue that we create. The revenue that you see in that contract is a part of it. I also like to point out though that because you're part of CISA, there's a lot of free stuff that you get, mostly between grants and contracts from the state. We're kind of unique among CISAs that we are probably over half funded by grants and contracts. So everything you see on that contract, you get about that much that you don't have to pay for as well. And we as a CISA 12 kind of benefit a little bit more from that because a lot of times state contracts, not always, but enough that they're divided by 12. And so we get a 12th of the pie on a lot of things. And we're not a 12th of the students or the schools in the state. We're about 1% or 1.8, I think. So we do kind of benefit in some ways, and in other ways, we kind of exist that way. But that's I am, as been said, yes, I am a Northwestern High graduate of '85. We will have a couple people involved in the search process that are also, as we get down the road, that are Northwestern graduates. So we have a pretty vested interest in the outcome. We have a pretty vested interest in this place, this school. We are, we are. This is my home too. I always said I dissected my first cat in this room here back 40 years ago.
It wasn't your last?
Wasn't my
How many cats have you?
I'm not gonna no knowledge of that, but I know that. Yeah, Doug Standen had a little storage room back in there, and we had our little cut-up tables out here. So, yeah, that. But here we are, and looking for a superintendent. So I think that the main thing that I like to talk about with role definition, my role, your role, is I think the main thing that I really like to emphasize with boards is that selecting the superintendent is your role. It is what you do. And as a board, it is, I believe, the most important decision you do. It's of the one task that is clearly yours to do. This is one of them, and this is the most important thing. So This process, this effort, this is a big deal. And not every CISA does searches. There are a lot of time, a lot of nights. I do them because I think they're important. There's no, a lot of the other people that you saw bids from, they do it as a job, which is fine. They get paid for it. I don't get paid extra for this because that's not why we do this. We do this because we think it's important. We think it matters, and we want to help you make the decision. We also want to make sure that, and I'll talk about this, that you don't hire somebody that slipped through the cracks or make a bad hire. We really want to we really take a big stake in doing the background of these candidates, and not only the recruitment, but really the screening. I just don't believe that anybody's going to get through our process, or at least they haven't yet, with some skeleton that we didn't know about. We're pretty connected to the rest of the state. It's just, I know my counterparts and every other CISA, I'll call them on these. I really push trying to get to know these people, which I have to do the right way, but I think that's important. So, I think in terms of role definition, that's the thing I would emphasize. This is your decision. This is your search, and I'm here to support you. There's some things that I will do. I will sit with you the entire process. I'll be here to answer your questions. I'll be here to help you. I will, make sure that that there's recruitment that happens. I'll make sure that there's correct screening of candidates that happen. I will help facilitate in making sure that we do the interviews correctly. I will make sure that we have a process. I think that one of the advantages of our process as we go through it is that the person that gets hired does have pretty wide support when they're hired. There's going to be a community. There's going to be that they'll have input, and they'll have, even though it's your decision, not theirs, the staff, the community will have a role in this whole process as well. And so I do think that support is important.
Can I interrupt you before you go too far? I don't think everybody here knows your background, and I think that's important. So,
I graduated Northwestern. What more is there to know? Isn't that?
well, I mean, you're not. And I speak pretty.
No,
you're not
sorry,
just a suit sitting here. You have history and a.
Yeah. So I was a classroom teacher in Amory, where I had a certain student there. So and their brother, and watched them run around the track a few times. So I was a teacher at Amory. I was a high school principal in Ashland. And then I was the superintendent at the Brillion Public Schools, which is a school about the same size as Northwestern, over near Green Bay. And I was a superintendent there for 16 years. And then I'm now in my 5th year as the agency administrator at CISA 12. My mother was a superintendent, so it's kind of just a family business. And she was also the special ed director for a while here in the Maple schools in the late 70s, early 80s, had her office in the middle school. My dad was a teacher at South Shore. He taught there for over 30 years, and he still lives there. So that's kind of my connection. That's just a little bit of my background.
Which I think is valuable when we had. I mean, I hadn't met Nick until we had done the first search, and since then, it's the knowing that you understand the superintendent side of things, the background, all the nuances and the various little things that all of us aren't going to understand, that brings value to this as well. So it helps with that interview process as well. Like I said, you're not just somebody that got hired that doesn't understand the educational system. So.
Yeah. And it may or may not be relevant, but I'll throw it out there anyways. Yeah. I mean, selection and hiring is kind of always is a big interest of mine, has been. It's what I wrote my doctoral dissertation on, was hiring. So, I mean, in interviewing and how to do that. So yeah, I mean, it's something that I've been interested in for the reason that I really started at the outset here. I just think it's the most important thing we do. It's the most important thing you do. And there's some ways you can do it wrong, and hopefully we're gonna do it right. I think that the recruitment is going to be a big part of this. When when we're looking at candidates, we're not going to get 30 applicants for this position. And I was talking to some people downstate about the position because I think this would be, a great, fabulous job. It's a fabulous school. It's got a lot of great things going on. And I'm like, and you get Duluth Superior right there if you need the city stuff. And it's really not that remote. And, but the whole, south of 8, we're remote. Like there's no way to argue. They just think that we're in the middle of nowhere, I guess. So,
We'll take your resume.
what's that? What's that?
We'll take your resume.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to move.
Too remote.
Back to Lake Nemagament. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I grew up in Lake Nemagament. That is the corner of this district that I'm from. So that's just kind of a bit of role definition. Me, you, that's kind of where we're at. The other piece I do like to emphasize upfront is just confidentiality in the process. One of the other reasons that we do these searches is I do think it's important to treat the candidates well and to treat them appropriately. And I'm kind of their point of contact. And so, I make sure when somebody doesn't move, as soon as we kind of move beyond somebody into the next round or hires, whatever, I make sure everybody knows that, hey, we've moved on and thanks for applying. It's just, but you weren't a fit here. I communicate that with them a lot. They also know that a lot of the candidates know they can call me, because one of the things that's very difficult as a school administrator is that a lot of this stuff can be public. And if it's public, that can hurt you in your current job. And it's just like, nobody, it's always kind of like, okay, now they're looking, and, and it's also kind of embarrassing if everybody knows you applied for a job and then don't get it. And so I try to make this process a very safe place where I don't want to say safe space because that's got a whole other connotation, but it's a place where they can apply and be safe and know that, hey, I want to, as a candidate, explore, is this a good fit for me, as much as the board determines, or am I a good fit for them? And I think you get a better pool if you know that, if the candidates know that the process is going to be a good one, and one that's going to be safe for them, and one that's going to be secure for them, and one that, they're not going to, if they don't get hired, they're not going to, everybody isn't going to know it. And so as we go through this process, you'll be looking at applications, you'll be interviewing people, just really emphasize confidentiality in terms of not talking about who applied, not talk about whose resume you did, just like you would in any closed session. It's really important. And we'll talk about when it does become public, and what the rules are for that as well as we go through this. Let me just go through a little bit of timeline of the hiring process. That's the next, and I put the dates down. And so, but not because we have to have those dates, but that's my suggested dates. Those all work for me. And let's just see, but we should decide if those are going to work tonight before we go. But let me just go through them first of all to talk about what each one. I mean, tonight we're obviously doing the planning meeting. We're going to determine all this stuff, and I'm going to talk about it. And if everything goes well, then we'll try to get that posted tomorrow or Friday, but right away, and it'll be posted then through the end of December. So it'll be about a 5-week posting, which is pretty good.
Can you clarify when you say, where does that posting
Yeah,
go?
so we will post it in multiple platforms. Weekend is kind of like the platform where everybody looks.
Mhm.
So it'll be on Weekend, it'll be on our website, it'll be on your website.
Okay.
That's where
Sure. Primary
people
experience.
are. Yeah, that's where people kind of are. I would say that, in addition to that, it is about me calling people and trying to recruit them
Sure.
too.
Yeah.
I would say, most of the people apply because they see it posted, but about a third of them are probably, people we've tried to
Yeah.
talk to, and we're already talking. People are calling me already. I've had like 3 calls already. So,
Quick question. The first thing that pops out on their dates is the posting is like right on the holidays. Is it not an option to go after the holidays when people might be a little more focused?
yeah, well, if you look at, I think most people, if they're looking, I mean, that gives them, and the application process is really simple. Like we try to keep it not
Yep.
very onerous so that, because no one's, there's no point in really writing 6 essays. They have a degree. They should have written to get that degree. They're going to write a letter. If we need a writing sample. So I don't think it's that big. And I think, there are positions already posted now. There's 4 or 5 already posted. There's also a CISA posting that's got all of the postings for the state on it. It's just something that goes out to all the school districts. So that's like a 4th place kind of. I think if you're gonna apply, I think it's gonna be posted over. It's also, that's when people kind of can do it because
Exactly.
True. Yeah, that's true. You get a lot of off time.
that's when they're kind of downtime. So it's kind of
The more time we can have it out there, I think the better.
That's true. That I didn't think about how much the schools close in that period.
Yeah, and then if you look at the rest of the posting as well, or the process, if it closes on the 31st, and then we meet, and I'll take everything and I'll put it in a Google Drive so you can read through it and look at it, and then we'll come on the 5th, which is a Monday, and just look at those, look at the applications and decide who do we want to interview. And typically when we look at that, we'll try to interview on the 13th on 2 nights. And I would recommend that we try to interview about 8 people. That would be the goal, would be to interview about 4 people each night. And that is a first round of the first round. And so I will have questions there. And it's that first round is kind of much tighter. It's kind of a screener. So every candidate comes in, they're going to get asked the exact same questions in the exact same order. I'll ask the questions. You guys can focus on listening to what they say. And, because that's your role. And, we'll try to keep it the same as we can for all 8. And then from those 8, we'll select finalists, which we try to get. The goal for finalists is to get 2, but sometimes you're at 3. And, it just it doesn't have to be, you're going to see where there's kind of a break. I've had boards that have wanted to interview 4 as finalists, and I've kind of said, look, you really don't have 4. You have 2 that you want to interview and 2 you feel like you have to, don't you? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, let's just interview the ones that you want to, and I'll have a conversation with the other 2, because sometimes it's hard, but it's not hard and fast. Once we get to the kind of the magical cutoff point according to the Attorney General, is that once you get to 4, they're public. So if you get below that number, you have to have 5 or more to keep it confidential. Once you get to 4, then they're considered finalists.
And they end up in the paper.
Yeah, even if you just say, hey, the first round, we're only going to interview 4. Well, you want to interview at least 5, because if you interview just 4 that first round, they're considered finalists. And so, after that first round interview, we get into the second round. The second round, we can talk about that a little more, but we'll have a group interviews where the candidate will interview again with the board, and then with a community and or staff group. And we can talk about that a little bit here too.
It was based on your dates here, after the 15th, after January 15th.
Yep.
We convene after that and get that list down to
finalists.
less than, down to the finalists. And then we go to the 26th.
And I think it's good to put the dates out there, so when people are applying, they can kind of plan for it. And because, we try to do a quick turnaround, and, this is an early, it won't be the first person hired, but it is you're getting the pool of first round of people that are, the first pool of candidates who want to be hired.
And if I remember correctly from the last time we had done this, those initial candidates, you do I'm going to say like a rather vanilla screening of them for the initial interviews for the 13th and the 15th. And then the difference between the 15th and the 26th, when we've chosen our finalists, you do a rather comprehensive background.
Yeah. And
Am I right in that?
Yeah, I think, and I remember specifically the last time we did it, I'll do, like you said, a light screening, find out if there's any red flags. And because convened on that first screening committee one on the 5th, there was a candidate that you guys knew we didn't want, but I didn't know that yet. I did find out why, but so I mean that was kind of unique, but it did happen, and it's just sometimes it goes that way too. So yeah, it's not the end of the world if we interview somebody on the 13th and 15th. That may not be the best because we can still find out about it, but why? But we definitely want them pretty screened by the time we get to the even between the 5th and the 13th. I'll try to do a little bit more. It's just as each stage, it just becomes a little bit more digging.
I need a reminder of the deadlines that are kind of driving the schedule, as far as when we have to have a contract in place, or can someone refresh?
There really isn't any in that way. No, I think this is just, you can set your own deadlines here, and you really don't have any time on the front end. I think you're thinking like non-renewal timelines.
I'm just trying to understand,
Yeah.
making sure I can appreciate what's driving these dates.
I think the only thing driving them is just to get, you're getting the first pool of candidates, and the pool is as big because it's early. Then some of those people will get hired.
Yeah.
And I don't think you want to rush it too much under that, so I don't want to overstate that. But
Okay.
that's really the only thing you're trying to do at this point. I also like this timeline a little bit too, because we typically are able to do some candidate screening at the school board convention, having that week in between. So I do kind of like having that when we can do that in a search as well.
The other thing is, I do believe because we're gonna be looking for a high school principal.
That's part of the other thing
That's
too.
the other.
And I've already been, this is a little bit of a segue. I've been asked that a couple of different times already about what's the board's position on the principal. And I have said that's the position. Hiring a principal is the superintendent's job. So now I'm not saying that we, in this unique situation, that we might not have to have a foot in that door a little bit, but I think it's important that we hire the superintendent, knowing and during that interview process, knowing that, hey, we have to hire a high school principal at this point, and he's also the athletic director, so we have to navigate all of that as well. And I would expect that whoever the hire is going to want to be part of that, and
Okay.
that's it as well. But I do believe, don't administrative contracts have to be at least handed out by the district by like February 15th, February 20th, something like that?
You don't have to do the initial one. That's just it. You have that's your non-renewal deadline is
Oh.
by the end of January. So if you
Okay.
don't give preliminary notice by January 30th, then they automatically renew to a 2-year contract. So
Okay.
even if they're on a 1 year, so that January 30th is key, because if you don't non-renew, they automatically renew. So, but to create an initial one, it's you can do that anytime.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so that's the timeline. I think I talked a little bit about the recruitment effort as well. I want to get to the salary range, because I did do some work on that, and the number that I have there, there is a reason for that number. And this doesn't marry you to a contract, but I do think posting a salary range is important. And so what I did was I did a salary analysis, so I took the 20 school districts in the state, the 10 next smallest ones, and the 10 next bigger ones. So the 10 on each side of Northwestern's enrollment. And then I looked up all their superintendent salaries, and then I averaged them. And then I looked at the Heart of the North Conference, looked up all the superintendent salaries, and then I averaged them. And then I looked at all of the districts that border Northwestern, and averaged them. And then I took the 3 averages and averaged them. So there's a lot of, and then I increased it by inflation, because the numbers that I have are for 24-25 school year. And this is for a 26-27 contract. So it's like 2 years, in between. And I basically the number that when I did all the averaging and put the CPI on there, it was 167. And so the salary range is 10% below that and 10% above that.
Of the 3 numbers you came up with, how close were they?
So I did inflation analysis after, but they were, these are for 2 years previous, so you can't compare them to that number there, but the 20 districts were 160 was the average salary of the 20. The average of the conference was 162, and then the average of the ones close to you was 150. So those are 3 numbers, but those were before inflation was added. So 159, 162, 150. So they were not hugely apart. I mean, and there's a couple outlier numbers in there too, I think.
But what was Carl?
I think he was right. I think he was right in the 150, wasn't he?
I was gonna say 140 something.
No, he was higher. I want to say like 155 is what I have.
That
in
sounds
my
about
head.
right. I know that the average I came up with was right about where he was.
Okay.
I thought it was one.
He like hit it right on.
162. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I could just make it.
I don't think the next number was a 6. I thought he was in the 5s, but
I think he was. Yeah.
I thought so.
So
I mean-
that's where, and the range doesn't marry you to a number. You know, you could hire somebody that's got 0 experience or what. I mean, you never know quite all these things, but I think that number would give you, I think that would give candidates a range that tells them where they would be, and I think it would be appropriate. And I did 2 searches last year. One of them, the board went way lower than what I suggested, and one of them, the board went way higher. So it really kind of depends on what you want to do. I mean, they went way, way higher, the other one, but I think this,
Extra money.
you know, this gives you a high and a low range, and it doesn't just, I think, you know, like with anything, it's always, as a board, you know, you got to take that, you know, you're responsible for a lot of dollars, and they're not your dollars, they're your taxpayer dollars, and you got to be judicious with them. It's not your money, it's theirs. On the other hand, there's what things cost. And so.
And this document, the second one in the pile, would be available to people considering applying, so they would have.
That's the
salary
app. That is the posting. Yep.
range.
That's
Okay,
what the
so
posting
salary
would like.
range would be out.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, that doesn't mean that's what we're paying. That means that's what we're
That's
posting, saying
Yes.
this is a range.
We
But
could
like you said,
offer-
if you get somebody that applies that's never been a superintendent,
Yes,
you can use that as a bit of a negotiating tool to a
Yeah.
degree.
but they'll use this as a bit of a negotiating tool back at you, probably, but, which is fine. I mean, we're not saying competitive salary, we're saying.
Right.
This is the range, and that's okay.
And I know when we had done this again, I'm going off of the last time, we had whatever our salary range was. I think we had all kind of looked at it and went, that seems a little high, so I think we had dropped it a little bit, and I mean, I think we got a quality. I think we had 2 candidates. Well, we got Carl and I want to say their guy's name was Carl too.
Kyle.
And I know they were, from a wage perspective, one was down here and one was up here as to what they were going to be asking. So again, it gives, I mean, it's going to make somebody end up saying they're going to end up going through this work to apply or not, you know.
Which, I mean, eliminates work for us if someone thinks it's 200,000 and they do all their application and we have money, we said every instance.
I mean, when I looked at all these numbers, there was, I mean, like the high and the low was, I mean, I think Prescott was the highest that I saw. Prescott and Cumberland were the 2 higher ones, and they were, I think Prescott's over 200 and Cumberland's like 190. But other than that, I think the low was like 145, 146. And then there was one district that, and I know the story, they were at 120. But so, I mean, those are kind of the outliers.
Cumberland's superintendent new.
No, Barry's been there quite a while.
So he's
getting
Yeah.
raises.
I'm
Yeah, that's
curious
why I
to know if you can comment,
yeah.
and I don't know if you know this information. So you did like this competitive comparison between different schools for the soup level. Do you have any idea how does our district compare for either admin or teachers? I mean, are we kind of right in the middle, or are we on the low end or the high end, or?
Your teachers, I know that your teacher salary starting is low. I mean, you're very low.
Well, what about just average?
But admin, I'm not sure. I don't even know where your principals
I
are.
think we're relatively competitive on the ad. I think we're on
Yeah.
the lower side, but I think, if you take your, here's where we're at, you take the 10 above and the 10
Yeah.
below, I think we would qualify as the 10 below, but not the bottom.
Yeah.
And I think from teacher salary, I think there's, a little rabbit trail, but our starting wage is I think probably the lowest in whether it's in CISA or whether it's in
Probably not the lowest in
North.
CISA, but lowest.
But we're on the bottom end of that. The other thing that we have that other districts are doing that we're not is that they're years to the top. I think what is Superior? 12
Could be.
12 or 13 years from starting to top salary. And I think we're at about 18 or 20-ish.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure we might be at 20, 21 even.
It's 22.
And that's always a tough one because
My numbers are off.
you're damned if you do. It's like if you keep it condensed, then people can get to the top faster.
Right.
But then the people that are at the top complain that they can't ever get a raise,
Yeah.
and so.
So I
if
think
you-
we're a combination of, from that aspect, from a teacher aspect, which is why it's been a board goal for so long, is to get that bottom number up and then condense it. So I think we're 0 for 2 as far as the teacher wages go.
Yeah.
Currently, but I think administratively, we're probably pretty good.
And I asked that question in the context of, your proposed range here. I don't want to be the district that is on the way high end for our superintendent, okay, comparatively. But then the teachers are on the low end. I don't want to be in that situation.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we won't be there.
That's what I asked.
Yeah, good question.
Yeah, and I think your staff, my experience is your staff wants you to hire a good superintendent.
Oh,
I mean,
sure.
They want,
So do
you
we.
gotta be mindful of the dollars, but I think generally teachers are like, pay them so we can we'd rather you pay them and have a good one than try to lowball. And I don't think we will, so. But yeah, I mean, I to your point, Vince, I think you don't want to be in that spot. All right, I'm on number 6 there, survey. One part of our process is that we do put a community survey out. It's a virtual one. I'll probably have Jenny do this. We'll get it out to everybody, a link, and get it community wide. And I did provide a copy for that. It's pretty generic. You want to keep it. You don't want to have it be too long or people won't fill it out. My experience has been people will fill this out and it'll give them a chance to provide input. Again, it is your decision and you're the one that's going to be getting most of the information, but it does just give your entire community a part of the process.
Sorry, I have another question. Would this survey be kind of the same mechanism or as the survey we did for the?
I'll just have you do a Google survey.
No,
Yeah, it'll be
Just
different.
no?
Way
No.
scale.
Yeah,
This
way
won't be
scale
a
back,
paid
way
thing.
easier.
Way
Right,
scale
yeah.
back from the other one, for school perceptions for that.
Yeah, that's what I was asking about, school
Way scale
perceptions.
back from that one.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll have no problem with it. Yeah, we'll just give you the link and yeah, that's easy enough.
So it'd just be a posting. And
Yeah,
I'll send it out.
usually it's most of the people that end up doing the survey are going to be your staff and parents, and you can break it down. That'll be
Okay.
nice.
Thank you.
All right, background checks. There's. I try to emphasize to boards that there is a lot of potential liability with doing background checks, and so that's kind of what you hire me to do. And it doesn't mean that if you know somebody that knows somebody, you talk to them. I get it. You're bored. You want. And there's a place that, however, there is liability and there is certain things have to be done a certain way and with certain people. And that's, I think there's a couple of search firms where they don't do background checks because they say they have, and then they have the board do all the background checks. I just, last summer I spent a day with a couple other CISA people and a lawyer in a law firm in Green Bay, just talking about superintendent search law, all the laws around it. And there's just a lot of liability. So that's just a really bad idea to have you do all the background checks. And so that is a role that's what you hired me for, and that's what we will do that.
Can you be more specific on how you perform the background checks?
So what I do is I will ask them to provide us with 4 references, which to me doesn't really mean a whole lot, because I'm not really interested in talking to their pastor and the neighbor that they used to make apple pies with, because that isn't going to give you a good sense of what I really drill down into is finding who have been their supervisors going back at least 10 years. So I will talk to every supervisor, and I have to get them to do a sign off that says I can do that. But that is to me the starting point of every person. I'll also talk to, if I know a superintendent that knows them, maybe worked with them. I mean, there's a lot of relationships that, working in the K-12 world in Wisconsin for as long as I have, I kind of try to leverage all those, including agency administrators and other CISAs and anybody that I can connect with, just to try to do all the background we can. But the core is every supervisor that they've had, in their career. And people often don't put that. And I will tell them, I know you don't want, I know you don't want it, but you're looking, but I'm going to have to call your superintendent. I'm going to have to call your board president. And so at this point, you're going to have to tell them, we have to do that. It can't be secret anymore. So, but that's kind of where I really put, start from and then go from there.
And you do that for your final 2 before we make a selection.
Yeah, for sure. They get really dug. Some people I know and I've known my whole life, and so that's easier. And there could be somebody and have known for a long time. But yeah, for sure them. But I will do background, as much as I can. If I have no idea who somebody is, like I did a search last summer, and I had a candidate from Alaska, a candidate from Minnesota, a candidate from where the heck was it? Idaho, and then one from Florida, I think. And I'm like, how do you background those? Well, they all had a Wisconsin connection, and they were in Alaska because they got fired from 2 jobs in Wisconsin. So I made it a little bit easier, but I didn't know that on the front end. So, all right. So that's background checks. Interview questions. Like I said, the first round of interview questions, I'll have a set for us. And I think you'll find them to be everything you kind of want to know in the first round. If there's a question that, hey, I really want to get this answer asked by, we customize the final round a little bit more, because that's going to be based on everything you heard on the first round. But the first round, you're interviewing 8 candidates. And so, you want to kind of keep us the same. You want to compare apples to apples when you're interviewing them, so that, they're all answering the same questions in the same way. And so, but I will have those ready for you. And then last thing is, before we have the finalist interviews, I believe the way we did this last time is we had a staff and community group that interviewed with the candidates as well. And I'm with you always. We'll have a couple other CISA people facilitating that discussion as well. So all of these this staff and community group will be facilitated, and it's facilitated around the idea that group is going to provide you feedback. They're not going to tell you who they want you to hire, and we'll make that very clear. And we try to do that from the outset, because if we set that up and then they say, well, here's who we think you should hire, and you don't hire them, well, then they're just mad. And so that's really not the point. The point is we want their feedback on what was the strengths and what were the concerns of the candidates that they interviewed with. And then I'll work with Jenny about getting that group together, who's on it. And you can look at some ideas there and maybe get some ideas for people. We'll finalize that probably next month.
And when we had done that previously, I think we as a board had given some suggestions as to who we thought should be there
Yeah, we
from
made a list.
some of that. So if you guys take this with you and maybe make some notes for yourself, so when we come to put that list together, we have everybody's two bit. Doesn't mean everybody's going to win as to who they get, but it's something that we can all chew on it.
Yeah, I would say we could probably, finalize that on that January 5th meeting as well.
That's
And
fine.
then that'll still give, 3 weeks before that to notify people. I think that pretty much covers everything that I have. Any,
Remember last time I went through this, I was new, so it's like, oh man, this is gonna be hard, but I remember you saying like, through the process, it becomes kind of more obvious who your candidate is. So that was,
yeah,
hopefully that happens again. It just-
it'll
And that was,
emerge.
and there was a lot of truth to that.
Yeah,
But I always like to say this whole process is like watching NASCAR. It's like it's as much about who crashes along the way as who wins at the end. So you're gonna watch a few people spin out, and burn, and okay, it's down to 2. It might get hard at the end, and it often is, and that would be that's actually a great problem to have, right? When you've got 2 super strong candidates that you're really trying to. As long as you don't get mad and fight about it. Usually we can get consensus.
Co-superintendents.
Nick, I appreciate the organization. I do have 2 questions. The first question is, if Cody decides that, hey, this is something I want to pursue, I'm assuming he's going to have to go through the same application process, during that time frame.
Yeah,
I've had that conversation with Cody. If he so chooses, this is the process we're going
Yeah.
through because that's what we told the community we were going to do.
Yeah.
So,
So I just want to be clear on that.
Yep.
All right.
yeah, and I talked to him about it too.
And okay, let's leave it at that. Next question is, what if we go through this process and we don't have a candidate
Yeah.
we're excited about?
Great question. We'll repost and start it again. And that's not the end of the world. We've done that before, and I'm here to do that with you. And there's, we've hired great candidates in February, like this one. This will be a February hire. We've hired great candidates in April, and we currently have 2 superintendents in our CISA that we actually hired in July. So it does, as you get later, you think, okay, well, maybe this won't, let's just see. But I think you don't want to settle because, we posted it, we went through the process, and this, we got to hire somebody now. If we're not happy, we repost and start over.
So in January, we would repost if we didn't have, well, it would actually be after the interview process,
Yeah.
right? So in February. we would
Yeah, and I would
repost.
tell you too, if, let's say I don't think that would be possible because we're on this early, but let's say we get through this whole thing and it's like, we go through it again, we still don't find somebody. It's like, well, we want an interim, we want to do it again next year. That's part of your agreement with me is I will be with you to do all that. So we're not here to nickel and dime you, we're here to get the best person
Yeah.
long term.
do you know what what's the average tenure of a superintendent right now? Do you know?
Well, typically it's about 4 to 5 years. That's about the average. When you look at it, there's 421 superintendents in the state. It's between 60 and 100 new ones every year. So if you kind of do the math there, there's a range. Some people are crashing and burning after 2 years. Some are there for 20 years. But I would say 4 to 5 is average.
There's probably some districts that you threw to.
Well, and I don't know, like some of these urban districts, it's like, I swear the superintendent's job is just to try to keep a majority of the board from firing them for as long as they can. And that's about all they do. But I think our CISA 12 districts, that's not the case. So, I hope that we can have somebody here for 10 years, and that would be, and I don't think that's unrealistic.
I thought we did.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah. I think the one thing that I would just like to highlight is in the past, prior to that January 5th meeting, I think we were provided with the resumes
Yep.
of everybody that applied. And I would just urge you to, again, be confidential regarding the whole thing. You'll have it in email form. Go through it, make your notes of whatever it is. So when we do have that meeting on the 5th, we can have those conversations, but don't share that because it truly is important that those people get to retain their privacy until it gets to that final amount. So,
Yeah.
Does January 5th though work for
Yeah, we should
everybody?
probably
as
verify
the
the
next-
dates.
That's a Monday, right?
That's a Monday.
That is a
That's
Monday.
the Monday before the board meeting,
Sounds good.
which then the following week,
Maybe before the board meeting. Oh, the Monday before. I
the
see what
Monday
you're saying.
before the
No,
board
it's the board
meeting. So it would happen on the 5th, and then we're gonna have a board meeting on the 12th. And then we're here again, the 13th and the 15th. So that's a busy week,
That's
just
Tuesday, Thursday.
Tuesday, Thursday.
Tuesday, Thursday.
So,
And I have flexibility. I can move. I did intentionally not go on the 12th because I knew you had a board meeting. So, but everything, the other ones, I mean, I have flexibility. So if we have a conflict, we can. we
so
can
if there's
sort that out
something there,
together.
maybe take a peek at your schedule and either reach out
Yeah,
to,
let's,
Yeah, just best practices.
can it be on that Monday? Can it be at 5:30? Instead of, are we doing at
Oh.
5? Are all these at 5?
doesn't have to be.
Whatever time
What's
you
that
want,
mean?
I can.
Can you go at noon?
Well, we did that with one district. Instead of 2 nights, we started about 1 in the afternoon and then just did it.
I could do that.
So I mean, that is an
Hard for
option.
Most people to do that.
Some of us
The 2 is nice because it gives, if a candidate has a conflict, it gives them a little bit of
That's
flexibility.
exactly how I spend my vacation.
So I guess take a peek at your schedule. I don't need an answer right now, but we're gonna have to come up with something here in the next, 2 to 4 weeks, I would expect, so we can end up getting those situated. So
Should we, when we're way out there, put a date on, were we gonna meet to narrow the list between the 2 rounds of interviews or be with?
You'll
No.
do that on the 15th.
Oh, we'll do that on the 15th.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So the 15th. What did you keep those interviews to about an hour? I thought.
Yep.
Did you?
Yep.
So we're probably going to on the 13th be here for 3 or 4 hours. And then the 15th is going to be probably longer than that because you're going to finish them off and then we're going to take that list and get it down to our finalists. So thanks, Maya. So just so you know, the second of those 2 is going to be a longer meeting. None of these are short.
Yeah, but it probably won't be that hard to get from that, to get the finalists from that. Because
Right.
if you have if you can't get 2 and you want to go with 3, you can. So hopefully 2 will emerge as
Well,
clear.
sometimes the decision just makes itself too.
Can you, at a high level, just explain something to me? When it comes to the licensure or
Yeah.
when it says, or near the completion of the certification part, I don't have any idea how big of a barrier or, what that task looks like for somebody. I mean,
Yeah, it's been a while since I've done it, but I know that we hired one person. Last year, we hired somebody for this year, a new soup, had not started his licensure. And, but when he got hired, he has to enroll in a program and he told me he should be completing it by the end of the year. So he thinks he could do it in a year.
Okay.
And I said, well, tell the board, you're going to have it done in 2, because life happens, you don't want to back yourself in. But so, I mean, I think that's the scope of it. You should be able to get it done in 2 years.
Okay.
If you haven't started it. And you can weigh that, what is it? Sometimes if they don't have it done, it's not probably the big deal. They'll finish it up. If they've never started it, you're like, well, how serious are you about doing this? You haven't even started a program and you wanted to be, but that may not be an issue. Like I said, in the one we hired last year, the person hadn't started the interview, but they were a good fit and and they'll do a good job. They just hadn't but they actually had a business manager license and a curriculum license.
Because I'm assuming there's probably going to be a number of candidates that do not have a soup experience, right? And they've never been a superintendent.
Yeah. And I don't think that's bad. I mean, I think you need administrative experience. You want to hire them in a classroom.
Yeah.
But if you're a high school principal for 5 or 6 years at a bigger high school, I think that's that's some pretty good background. And everybody's got to start somewhere. Everybody's got to have a first job somehow. So,
But there are a handful of administrative principals that are out there that have their superintendent license. They just haven't been given an opportunity.
Yeah.
No, there are.
Yeah,
There
probably
are.
is.
So. All right, all good?
I think we're good.
All right, I'll
Yeah,
make a
how many people
motion
are
in a
watching?
second to end
Jenny,
this
how many
here
people are on?
spiel.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
And a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you very much. It's been real. I'm driving south.
Tonight?
Tonight you are?
Well, I got our hotel in Eau Claire because my little ones, I mean, I was gonna just leave in the morning, go down, watch the game, drive home. But my two littlest are not gonna sit in the car that long, so I figured I could get down to Eau Claire, let them hammer out a pool for an hour and a half, sleep well, and then meander on down tomorrow. But I am coming home tomorrow night. I gotta work Friday. So.
Yeah.
Oh, you are? You're not going to stay overnight Friday night or Thursday night?
No, I'm getting done and popping in the old 4-wheel drive sleigh.
Where was Dan tonight? Did he have a conflict?
Dan took off early today to get down. He was taking his grandkids down.
Oh.
I think, I don't know if he was gonna